Alright everyone, interesting article, link in the description, archived of course, a conspiracy theory about conspiracy theories. Now part of the article is fundamentally true. People are pretty bad at recognizing when things are conspiracy theories, assuming that they agree with their premise. So, there's a million examples of weird shit that people believe in, and a lot of it at this point has become socio-political. However, the article misses two things. Number one, not everything labeled a conspiracy theory or fake news or disinfo is actually a conspiracy, fake news, or disinfo. Oftentimes, these are nothing more than politically weaponized terms. It's completely overlooked in this study. We'll get into some conspiracy theories that weren't conspiracy theories in a moment, because there's a laundry list of them as well. You know, and they're not turning the frogs gay, they're turning them transgendered, actually. It's very unfortunate. You remember when we had, like, deformed frogs back in the 90s, and there was a big scare about how we were destroying all amphibian life on Earth because we were dumping chemicals in the water? That's still a thing, but for some reason people forgot that it was a thing. Yeah, they were finding deformed frogs all over the place. They'd have, like, you know, fucking 6 feet and you'd be all fucked up, and people now pretend that the frogs are perfectly okay. Yeah, despite the fact that we're dumping more pharmaceuticals in the water supply than ever before, and some of it doesn't actually successfully get filtered out. The frogs are taking estrogen. If you're on a city water supply, why, you're taking a little bit of estrogen. Wonder why the birth rates are down. Wonder why testosterone and sperm counts are being reduced in human males. I don't know. It's a conspiracy theory now, isn't it? The other thing that it misses is that people are also poor at recognizing when things are not conspiracy theories when they've been primed to believe that they are. Look no further than, for example, the Hunter Biden laptop. The laptop exists. There was literally a lawsuit over its existence. We know that it exists. The material that we've seen online is fundamentally correct. It's been publicly released for a while now, but originally it was conceived of as a conspiracy theory. The legacy media said this is a nothing burger, it's a bunch of falsified material, the laptop may not even exist, they insinuated that. I have met people even today, now that it has been reported on by that same legacy media, yeah, we sort of dropped the ball on that one, sorry about rigging the election, yeah, the laptop's real and we have no reason specifically to believe that any of the public releases are falsified. I still meet liberals now, though, that still believe that the laptop doesn't even physically exist. That literally none of those emails or pictures or videos or anything that were pulled from it are actually real. They still believe that. Now, you can confront them with a wall of information, even from the same legacy networks that they trust, that it is real. They've admitted to this fact. Nobody even condescends that fact anymore. Biden doesn't pretend the laptop's not real. He just said, well, it's so terrible, you know, my son's in recovery and stuff, and they're trying to bully him. You know, deflecting, straw-manning the situation, not denying that the laptop existed, because the physical copy of it was given to the FBI, so you can't really give a physical copy of something that doesn't exist. Then they resort to saying, well, the chain of custody was broken, and so anyone could have tampered with the files. Yes, indeed, except that they've queried some of the people that were emailed, and they've confirmed that those emails are real. Again, there's not one jot or tittle of anything from the computer that was ever falsified. Well, it's a pretty good track record, considering that they've done 100 different forensic studies on it now, isn't it? Take the Gulf of Tonkin, for example. Gulf of Tonkin incident leading to wider war many, many years ago. It was a conspiracy theory that that was effectively on purpose until a few years ago when a declassified report from the U.S. government was released under FOIA saying, yeah, we kind of knew that that ship was going to get attacked if it went into that area, and we sort of left them as sitting ducks in order to invade Vietnam. MK Ultra used to be denied as an existential thing by the U.S. government, and later on they declassified it. We've got fucking footage from some of their tests where they gave soldiers LSD and did all sorts of other crazy shit. They were trying to drug up the soldiers to see if it improved their performance. Some of them worked, dextroamphetamine. Some of them worked less, like giving your soldiers acid probably is not a good idea. They're not going to be a capable fighting force. They'll be too busy, you know, looking at hallucinations and talking to the trees and stuff like that. By the way, look up the MK Ultra LSD footage if you want to see something that's very, very funny. Watching these dudes in full battle gear out in the middle of a forest, and they're just like staggering around like, ha, they're laughing and falling over each other and taking naps and stuff. Can you imagine being their commanding officer that day? Like, oh shit, what a shit show this is. That would have been hilarious. Israel's nukes. Israel having nuclear weapons, although they have an ambiguity policy, was generally reckoned not to be true until the 1984 Pentagon report, which was declassified, I believe, in 2018. Well, now we know that they collected some dozens of U.S. nuclear triggers, and they did assemble weapons. They probably tested one in coordination with South Africa back in the day. They very, very quickly built an atomic stockpile, and their weapons are on par with some of the weapons that the U.S. has in its current stockpile. They have thermonuclear weapons. We know this. They still take up an ambiguity doctrine, but we know that they're there. According to the U.S. Pentagon, that is indeed true. There are still people that consider that a conspiracy theory. So what I would posit is that the very term itself has no real meaning. It's the same as like fake news. Well, who determines what's fake? I've been told that things are fake that ended up real. I've been told that things are real that ended up fake. This has been a repeat thing. You don't have to be alive very long before you've probably noticed this if you have any intelligence at all. The study, therefore, overlooks this. We can even talk about, for example, nutritional science. What is true or untrue within nutritional science? So, you know, eating well and stuff like that, supplements and shit like that, things related to your health. When I was a kid, eggs were bad for you. Now eggs are a good source of protein. Butter was terrible for you, margarine was far better. Then we realized that trans fats are worse. The saturated fat in regular butter's not nearly as bad for you and doesn't gunk you up as much. By the way, I never use margarine. I don't understand why you would, because it doesn't taste as good. Right now, as of today, there's a war on salt brewing. Yes, all of the morning shows and stuff covering that new study that says that limiting your salt intake considerably will lead to a longer life. I shouldn't wonder that 20 years from now another study won't countermand it. Coffee! Do you remember all those studies from back in the 80s? Like when I was a wee lad, those studies were still in circulation, saying that coffee caused heart attacks and strokes and hypertension and other problems. They went back and revisited those studies in the last decade. And they figured out, oh shit, with the cohort sampling that they were doing, they weren't fixing for tobacco usage, and there's an overlap culturally in the 70s and 80s, is a big thing in the United States, between being a coffee drinker and being a smoker. There was a significant overlap between the two. Once they conducted a study in which they fixed for that, oh, actually, coffee's arguably slightly healthy for your heart. It probably helps to prevent heart attacks and hypertension and stuff like that. Who would have thought that stimulating your heart would possibly make it stronger? I believe it's usually called exercise. It turns out, by the way, that actually drinking a considerable amount of coffee gives you the most health benefits. Back then they thought, oh my god, you're headed towards an early grave, you drink a whole pot a day. Well, yeah, you're also chain smoking a pack a day, so that might have a little bit more of a detrimental health impact. So butter is the devil, now butter's fine. Eggs were the devil, now eggs are pretty healthy. Now salt is the devil, that's a new one. I'm more worried about refined sugars and corn syrup myself. Corn syrup probably is genuinely unhealthy. Thank you again, by the way, to the people at Heritage Heirloom for the corn syrup-free ketchup. Considering how much I eat, that's probably going to prolong my lifespan by a couple of years. There are some norms within nutritional science. For instance, it's good to get fiber in your diet. It's good to have a balanced diet. Overeating is generally unhealthy. I mean, unless you're eating nothing but lettuce, I suppose. Nothing toxic in that. It's just water and fiber anyway. Eat some sprouts. Eat more kale. The whole 9 yards. Meat. Red meat. Red meat was conceived of as being the devil. Now we realize, hey, there's a difference between processed meat that contains a bunch of corn and soy binders, those are not good for you, and just an actual slab of red meat, which is perfectly healthy in reasonable quantities. In fact, some people probably should eat more of it, considering the way that Gen Z is aging. Put down the soy and get yourself a ribeye. I think your body will thank you. By the way, fucking delicious. I make the best steaks myself, and they're not going to be made well done, raise your fist. Sorry about that. If you come over for a barbecue and you try to ask for it well done, I will ask you politely but firmly to leave. Some of you will get that reference. So the conspiracy theory is actually about the existence of conspiracy theories. We have numerous examples of things so labeled that turned out to be true. And there are plenty of things that people reckon to be true that later on are totally upended. So why even bother using the term? Bias will creep in any such study, and you may be feeding people fake news and, claiming it's real, or real news and claiming that it's fake. There's not necessarily a way to tell, especially when you deal with opacity, with classified material, with corporate secrets, stuff that would be covered up, international intrigue, spy versus spy, James Bond stuff. Of course, there's going to be a lot of obfuscation there. Deliberately so in some cases. That's about all. Peace out.